Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, hello everybody and welcome to this webinar organized by FinTech Belgium. I'm Gilles Quoistiaux, I'm journalist for Trends-Tendances, and we're going to talk about insolvency today with a lot of experts. We'll have also 4 testimonials for entrepreneurs that will explain their problems, the difficulties they may have in their field, in their business. So today, Tone is not with us. He will be there next week. He couldn't come today, so I'm replacing him. I'll try to do my best. I'm not, maybe I'm not as good and as handsome as Tone, but we will see Tone next week for sure. So we can start, I think, right now. Caroline is also with us. Caroline, you want to say a word?
Just welcome, have fun, and we are there to answer to all your questions. So don't hesitate; it's the moment to ask everything.
So please ask your questions. Feel free to go on the chat or to ask your questions in the questions section. It's really easy. You can ask everything you want to all our speakers today. They will be very happy to answer all your questions. So first of all, we welcome Fanny Alone. Hello, Fanny.
Hello.
So Fanny is a lawyer at Simon Brown, and she's specialized in insolvency issues, and she will give us a look, legal look on this very complicated issues of insolvency. She showed me the legal book about insolvency just 2 minutes ago, and it's very thick, very heavy. But I'm sure Fanny will do her best to do a short resume of these legal issues regarding insolvency. Fanny, the floor is yours, and we will talk with Eric right after that.
Great. I'm going to try to share my screen now. So it's first challenge of the day. Okay. Just to show my PowerPoint. Okay. So I think you can see my PowerPoint right
It's
now.
working.
It's working? Okay, great.
Yes.
So let's go. So hi everybody. As Gilles told you, so I'm Fanny, lawyer at Simon Brown, specialized in insolvency proceedings. I am super thrilled to be with you today for the first time for this FinTech webinar. And obviously, I will talk about the legal aspects of bankruptcy and alternative options. Lucky for you or not, you will see. I have been given an extra time today because one of the speaker was not available. But I promise to try to avoid being too much of a lawyer and to focus on the essential and pragmatic information.
And if you're being too much a lawyer, I will ask you another question. So
okay, great.
I can interrupt you. They told me so.
Here is the plan of my presentation. So at first, I will tackle your obligation and options as a business owner facing financial difficulties, because bankruptcy, as you will see, is not inevitable. Then in case you have no choice but to file admission for bankruptcy, I will go very quickly through the procedure of bankruptcy, its consequences, its effects. And to finish on a more positive touch, I will talk about second chance and possible restart after bankruptcy. So let's go. First, the basic guideline when you are a business owner is to try to find the right balance when taking your business decision between the long-term interest of all your stakeholders, and not only your shareholders, but also your clients, your providers, your employees, and not to continue a loss-making activity. In case financial difficulties become critical, you have some obligations. Actually, obligations differ depending on your working your business on your own, through a company. If you are a director of an SA, an SRL, an SC, then you will have to what is called ring the warning bell when some financial thresholds are reached. For example, for an SA, you will have to ring the warning bell when your net assets are reduced below 1/2 of your shared capital. What is it to ring the warning bell? You have to convene a shareholders meeting and to present them a report in which you will propose to continue or not the activity of your company by giving, of course, some justification. And if you're not comply with this obligation of ringing the warning bell, then you might face liability as a director of a company. Whatever you are working in a business on your own or through a company, you will have to assess the gravity of the financial situation. And here, I already want to draw your attention to this particular period, which is called the suspect period, and which can go from the bankruptcy judgment up to 6 months before, and during which abnormal action that you would have taken, for example, to favor some of your creditors, might be declared null and void. So be careful when you have financial difficulties, and you might have at some point to file admission for bankruptcy to this period of potential 6 months before. First option, when you are assessing the difficulty of a company, there is a chance of recovery. Then I advise you to file an application to get the benefit of a judicial reorganization procedure, which precisely aims to assist and to allow enterprise in financial distress to continue their activity in going concern, while in the same time being protected during a limited period of time. This application must be filed through the new electronic insolvency platform, which is called RecSol. And I might a little bit plead for my chapel here, but I strongly recommend you to get the assistance of a lawyer to draft this application, because you will also have to plead it in front of the Court of Enterprise. There are several advantages to the judicial reorganization procedure. First of all, as I already told you, you are protected against enforcement measures from your creditors, from being declared bankrupt, or from being declared liquidated. And you get this protection as from the date you file your application and up to max 6 months, which are renewable. You stay in charge of your business, which is different of a bankruptcy, and your business will continue as a going concern. You have different options when you file for a reorganization procedure. You can ask for negotiating a reorganization plan with all or part of your creditors. They will at the end vote on your plan, and if they approve, the plan will then be ratified or not by the court. Very interesting, this reorganization plan, because you can reduce your claims up to 80%, except for certain times of what are called extraordinary creditors. Other option to ask the court, the transfer of your business under the supervision of the court and with the assistance of a judicial trustee, which mission will be basically to find a buyer to all or part of your enterprise. And in this case, you may also yourself rebuy your enterprise, as auto-cessions is authorized, provided that competition rules are complied with. So this is for the reorganization procedure.
And Fanny, about this procedure, I have a question. Is it do we have to pay to do this kind of procedure? Is it?
Yes, you have to. Donc when you file a procedure with the court, you have to pay, yes, something, but the amount at the beginning, the amount was 1,000 euro, but I think now it has been reduced. But unfortunately, I don't know the exact amount, but it's less than 1,000 euro. I think it's 200, but I'm not sure. I should check that. So, and you can find normally the information on internet. So
is it something that is complicated? You need a lawyer to assist you in this process. You cannot do it alone.
as I told you, I
It's
mean,
quite
you have to collect a lot of appendixes to this application, and in your application, you must explain why you are asking for judicial reorganization procedure, why you have chances of recovery, but in the same time, you have financial difficulties, and you will be convoked by the court, and you will have to explain your case in front of the court. And for doing that, a lawyer is really, really helpful. So I really recommend to get the assistance of a lawyer, yes. Okay, so I move on. Other option, there is no prospect of recovery for your business. Then you will have to assess whether or not you are in the conditions of bankruptcy. There are two conditions. First, permanent cessation of payment, so which means that you are no longer able to pay your debts when they failed you, and your credit is exhausted, so you doesn't have the confidence of your creditors anymore. In case those conditions are met, it means that you are in the condition of bankruptcy and you must file admission of bankruptcy within a month of the cessation of your payment. If you're not doing so, you might face criminal and civil sanctions. So pay attention also to this time limit. If you are not in the condition of bankruptcy, but your business is having financial difficulties that will not be recovered, then you may opt for a voluntary liquidation with the appointment of a liquidator. Moving on, in case you have no choice but to file for bankruptcy, then what will happen? So a basic general remark about bankruptcy is the publicity about bankruptcy. So the judgment opening the bankruptcy and the judgment closing the bankruptcy will be published in the Belgian official journal. So your creditors are aware and may file their declaration of claim. So this might have an impact on your reputation. You must be aware about it. Basic effect of bankruptcy, you are divested from your capacity to administer your property, so you may not pay or receive any payment, with some very limited exceptions. A trustee is appointed and he will be in charge of your business, and of course he will liquidate your assets in order to pay your debts. You will have to collaborate with the trustee to answer to his question, to go to his invitation. Also, being declared bankrupt implies specific liabilities, especially for directors of companies, so attention to that too. But as a bankrupt, you also have some rights. You have the rights to be informed, to be consulted by the trustee at different stages. Also, you will be consulted at the end of the bankruptcy when the trustee closed the account after the realization of the assets, and you could contest the result of the trustee. If the trustee is envisaging a sale and you think that this sale would be prejudicial, you can also ask for the trustee to be replaced by another. Here also a quick remark, because I know that a lot of directors of company or shareholders of company often give personal guarantee for the enterprise. Please be aware that you will not be able to get released from this personal guarantee because the case law considers that when you have any interest in a company, this personal guarantee will not be considered as free of charge. So I advise you, when you are asked to give some guarantee for your company, not to give a personal guarantee, but to go rather for a warranty in rem, like a warrant on your business assets.
So we already have some questions, Fanny. Maybe I can
Yes.
share you one. There's Aaron here. Thank you for your question, Aaron. He asks you, in this procedure, who is penally engaged? Who is responsible?
Directors might be criminally engaged, for example, if they have delayed, for example, the admission for bankruptcy. Also, you have to pay your employees during the bankruptcy. It is also an obligation that is criminally sanctioned. And the rest of the liabilities are more civil liabilities. But it concerns a lot of these liabilities concern directors. company.
Great. And also one question from Xavier about the reorganization procedure. There is some talkings at the government for maybe a proposition to adapt the rules to increase the access for more companies. Do you know anything about this proposition?
Actually, it has always been done since 2017, because now all enterprises are authorized to file for judicial reorganization, and the definition of enterprise is very broad. So it includes all the independents, so like doctors, lawyers, dentists, and so on. All the companies, of course, but also the non-profit associations are now included in the definition of enterprises. So now it's the scope of the person who are able to file for judicial organization is already very, very broad. I'm not aware of a new modification in this regard.
But I think there is a proposition to have less papers, less documents to register, so it's easier maybe to have access to this reorganization procedure. Maybe
for now there is 17 appendixes that you need to join to your application, but really I'm not aware about this proposal because there is also a European directive that will have to be implemented in Belgian law, but it is not about the paperwork around the judicial organization procedure. So, but I am if Xavier has information about it, I am interested.
Okay, you can go on, Fanny.
Okay,
and feel free to ask all your questions, like Xavier and Aaron, of course.
Yes, of course. Moving on, just about the other effects of bankruptcy, your creditors' claims are stayed. There is also a suspension of enforcement measures on your assets, and all your agreements are not automatically ended because of bankruptcy. It will be up to the trustee, except if also it is provided for in your agreement. And I'm moving on until the end of the bankruptcy. So at the end, the trustee will liquidate your assets in the interest of creditors. I already told you about the possibility to contest a contemplated sale. Afterwards, the trustee will convoke all the creditors, but also the bankrupt, to present the accounts of the bankruptcy, the results of the realizations, and it's at this moment that the bankrupt could oppose some contest regarding the accounts. And then the trustee will proceed with the distribution amongst the creditors. And finally, as I told you, the judgment of closure will be published in the Belgian official journal. Of course, this is a very short summary of the bankruptcy, but it's the basic aspects. Moving on, is there to a more positive touch? Is there a second chance after bankruptcy? Yes, there is a novelty in the Belgian Economic Code in 2017 called the erasure. What is the erasure? Is the possibility for the bankrupt to be released from the rest of his debt after the trustee has realized all of its assets and paid the creditors with what was available. But this possibility of erasure is only available for bankrupt natural persons, as not for companies. There are conditions to be complied with to get erasure. You must promptly ask it, either in your admission of bankruptcy or within 3 months of the bankruptcy judgment, and you may not have committed any gross or willful misconduct that contributed to the bankruptcy. This can be quite interesting to get this erasure, notably because it will end the professional bans that goes with a bankruptcy declaration. You are, for example, not allowed to be an accountant or an auditor or work as a director of a credit company. So with the erasure, you will be rehabilitated and you can do those professions again. And finally, this is almost the end. What about a restart after bankruptcy? Except the professional bans that I talk about, from a legal point of view, there is nothing preventing you to start again and to try again. But I will not go further on this subject matter because it goes way beyond my experience, and you will have way better insights from all the testimonials that will follow. So yes, this is it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Fanny, maybe I have one last question for you. I think many of the participants have heard also about the suspension of the bankruptcies that was going on. What can you tell us about that?
So there is, there is a government decision, yes, was taken in April this year, suspending the possibility to be declared bankrupt until 17th of June. So it was this week. This suspension was also for the judicial reorganization plan that were also suspended. So if you got reorganization procedures and you were executing your plan, it has been executed, which means that you didn't have the obligation to pay what was provided for in this plan, but it was until 17th of June. So this is it.
So it's important to know that now it's again mandatory to file bankruptcy when you face insolvency problems.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, Fanny. We will move on now with Eric van den Bemden. Eric is working at PC in the Restart program. It's a very interesting program which helps entrepreneurs after they faced very heavy difficulties and after they filed bankruptcy, and they help them to have another project and to Restart, that's the name of the program. It's a very good name, I think. So, Eric, hello.
Thank you. Hello. So I will also share my slides. Wait a minute.
And feel free, of course, to ask all the questions you like to Eric and to Fanny. Of course, she's still here.
Do you see my slide? Is it okay?
It's coming.
Okay, so I'm business advisor at the Brussels Chamber of Commerce. Sorry for my English, it's not so good, but the subject was so important and topical from the moment I couldn't refuse my presence today. So quickly about me. Prior to joining the Brussels Chamber of Commerce as the coordinator of the support program Restart, starting in 2017, I was a company manager for several fitness centers, wellness centers, and tennis clubs, as well as a trained physiotherapist and osteopath. Some observation in 2018, 3,100 Brussels company filed for bankruptcy, more than 11,000 for Belgium in 2019. So the worst, these numbers are likely to be multiplied by 4 in the coming months. That's why we are here today. So why? Because bankrupt entrepreneurs generally suffer a quadruple trauma: professional, financial, social, and personal. Because it exists successfully elsewhere, 60,000 Rebound in France, who helps business leaders, entrepreneurs, and self-employed people to rebound and launch new professional projects after experiencing downturns in activity, liquidation, or bankruptcy. Because nothing else existed yet in Belgium to help so-called restarters, so failed entrepreneurs in rebound, to rebound quickly and well. For one, of course, Brussels entrepreneurs, freelancers who have closed their business activity, declared bankruptcy, or liquidated their business less than 2 years ago. They are motivated entrepreneurs, freelancers with perceived, proven rebound potential. Condition to access the program: willingness to engage in the rebound program offered by Restart. They must have commitment, kindness, and want mutual aid. We are convinced that a high proportion of bankrupt entrepreneurs have the capacity to bounce back, to rebuild themselves, to launch a new activity, to create jobs. The mission of Restart is to encourage and supervise the rebound, to lead it more surely to success. We call a restarter an entrepreneur, self-employed person with high rebound potential. Ultimately, the end goal is job creation, of course, and the revival of the Brussels economy. As deployed activities, BAC with the program Restart and assistance from the Région Bruxelles-Capitale, has decided to engage in two areas, awareness and accompaniment. In terms of raising awareness with ecosystem players, contacts were made with curators, the president of the Entrepreneurs Court, the CPS, Actiris, le Guichet d'économie locale, business centers such as the Partner Village, municipalities, lawyers, accounting firms, and so on. In terms in support, today we give 5 months of reconstructions. We have structured different processes and tools such as individual and collective meeting, coaching, a membership file given to all candidates, a selection and steering committee that analyzes the request, a collaboration contract, a support schedule, different training in personal development, self-confidence, that's our experience and expertise, a restart certificate attesting the presence of the program. About the program, so this slide is in French, but well, okay. 80 hours of support in total, included among other a personality test and a debriefing, individual and collective coaching, workshop, meetings, and more. At the end of the 5 months, each restarter comes to present a project in their image with a panel of experts. About the positioning of Restart, there is 3 steps. For the first steps, we call it welcome. It's just after filling at the court and after the interview with the curator, helping the bankrupt person in his administrative, legal, and accounting procedures. So good practices, who should I talk to, what are my rights and obligations, and so on. The second step is growing, helping the bankrupt person to get back on his or her feet humanly. That's really the program Restart. And then the third step is rebound, accompanying the bankrupt to rebound towards a new professional project, allowing to put the new project on track. So redirecting to, for example, BAC starters to help a new professional project to be born. The objective today for Restart is to develop partnership with the public and private structures able to take over from Restart for the professional reintegration of the restarter, to cover all possible rebound options. It means employé, entrepreneur, self-employed entrepreneur. I'll let you quickly browse our conclusion because, yes, I think my time is running out. If you have entrepreneurs around you who could enter the program, please tell them about the Restart program at BAC. Thank you for your attention and your listening. Voilà.
Thank you very much, Eric, for your presentation.
Yeah,
I think we have a question.
So easy.
It's perfect. Thank you very much. I think we have a question from Nicolas. He tells you that it's very nice that you developed this service at BAC, and his question is there also at BAC a company that can turn to before going bankrupt? I'm not sure I understand your question, Nicolas. I'm sorry. Maybe you can type again your question, and we will ask Eric later on to answer it. So I think we can now turn our eyes to Aurélie de Guéqueler. Aurélie is going to join us on stage. Aurélie is working at Réseau Entreprendre. Bonjour Aurélie. Hi.
Hello. I'm here and I'm unmuted. I'm really happy to be here. So yes, I'm working at Réseau Entreprendre. I'm heading the association, the Brussels one, since 1 year now, 1 year and a half. And the reason why I'm really happy to be here is I think there is we should put way more spotlight on failure, which is not an easy subject, but I think it's our common responsibility today to talk about it. It's quite curious that we don't do it and that it's sometimes perceived as a problem in terms of branding or image, though failure is part of the road. I think we all know that. And also, more strikingly, failing is sometimes opposed to success or succeeding, which I think is completely crazy, because we all know, we all have stories around us of entrepreneurs that have known like big exits and that are considered really successful, while those exits were like realized in times where they had only some weeks left of cash before shutting down. So I think this is quite striking. But anyways, the reason why I'm happy to be here is that I think, at Réseau Entreprendre, what we do is we offer mentoring to starting entrepreneurs from experienced entrepreneurs, which is really important for us because we really want those mentors to understand what the ups and downs of entrepreneurship are. And that is why one of our core value is freedom of speech and transparency. So nothing within the network should impede that transparency and that's freedom to share anything you want. What we see and what I've seen from the last years at Réseau Entreprendre is that the events that we organized and that were like the most successful ones were the ones where we really put the spotlights on a huge failure and that everyone remembers it and it's really like a striking moment. Whereas the tendency when you are confronted to problems or running into difficulties as an entrepreneur or as a lambda individual would be, I think, to isolate oneself, which does not help. I think today our common responsibility is really like to be there for the people around us that we know might run into trouble because they might not do it. And if you want to help them and be there for them, it's really our role now. So this is why I'm really thrilled to hear stories of 4 entrepreneurs that have run into difficulties, because I'm sure we will learn a lot from them, but also because I hope it will help others to just share their difficulties and to feel less isolated, to dare asking help. And to see that failing is only the beginning of the story and that there is an after failing. So I'm happy to be here, and I guess we will have the 4 entrepreneurs on stage right now.
Well, thank you very much, Aurélie. I think you're right. We always talk about the big success of entrepreneurs, but failure is also part of this process, and it's important to talk about it also, to be prepared if you have some difficulties in your business. So we welcome today Sophie Rémy. Hello, Sophie.
Hello.
And Sophie is founder at Louis Le Sec, and she is going to talk to us about her business and what kind of difficulties she has faced lately.
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here too. So I launched my company called 12 Protect. So that's the name of the company 7 years ago. It's quite important to make the difference. You will see why. So that was 7 years ago after 15 years in the distribution sector. And so in the company, I developed a brand called Louis Le Sec. So the idea of Louis Le Sec was to develop some bed linen for kids, but the bed linen were quite functional as it was waterproof and anti-dust mites. So it was really a functional product and innovative on the market. And the idea was that everything was produced in Belgium, excuse me, I don't know the name in English, in atelier protégé. It was a product which has quite high cost, I will say. That's the problem of doing everything in Belgium, but it was that was part of my project. I had an e-shop, so I was selling on internet B2C, and I also developed the B2B part. And so Louis Le Sec was sold in shops for baby, mainly for baby. It took me a lot of energy and I was working a lot. After 3 months after having launched Louis Le Sec, I divorced. It was this a tough time. I have 3 kids and probably didn't help for the following. I had to cope with that situation. I had to cope with the fact that we need more money when we are alone. It's easier in a couple usually. So after 1 year and a half, I really needed some money. So I had to take some decision, and probably I didn't take the right decision because I decided to do some consulting. So in my company, in 12 Protect, as I was telling you, so that was next to Louis Le Sec, and I really needed to work beside that. So I think at that time I should have probably take more advice. I was in the Réseau Entreprendre, but you know, when you are facing so much problem and you are le nez dans le guidon, as we said, we don't always take the time to really think because as Aurélie said, sometimes you have just like few weeks of cash in front of you, and so you have to take some decisions. So I did some consulting beside Louis Le Sec. It was probably not the right decision, but I took the decision, so it was done. So I had no money problem anymore. That was a good thing, but I had less time to develop Louis Le Sec. So it's like a cercle vicieux. You don't, even if I was working more than a full time, of course, I didn't have enough time and enough money to invest in Louis Le Sec. And so I had some sales, I had some cash, I had some business, but not enough to live, and not enough to develop the company, and not enough to employ people. That was the idea when I launched the business. It was not the idea to stay alone in the company like for years. I really wanted to develop something really nice and with people. So after 5 years, as it was I don't know in English, not growing. I had to really to take decision, because I say, okay, that was not the idea. I don't want to be Louis Le Second hobby. I really wanted to be a business, so I have to decide what I will do with the brand. It took me a lot of time to decide to stop the activity, so to stop Louis Le Sec. It's why I told you I have want to protect the company and the brand Louis Le Sec. So I decided it's not a bankruptcy or liquidation, but I decided to stop the activity. It was a really difficult decision to take because, as I told you, I had some business, I have some customers, I have so the people were telling me, but it's a shame, you should go on and go on and go on, and but at the time you really need to decide what you will do. So it's like a baby, you cannot help anymore, and it's really difficult decision to take. I took the decision 1 year ago, after month and month and of I don't know what I want to do. And when you decide to stop, it's not over. It's I had some stock, I had some I had some product to sell, and so it's like my daughter told me, it's like a dead body that you have to drag. It's exactly like that. It's you have something that's here, and you cannot just. I could not just take my stock and go to the trash and say, okay, it's over. I had products to sell, and I said, yeah, I cannot go just to the trash. So it took me till the end of 2019 to really try to liquidate, I don't know if it's the right, my stock, and to really lean the situation. So for 8 months, I had to keep that alive, even if you took the decision to stop. So it's I'm quite happy today that I took the decision, because I think it was the right thing to do. Why? Because I know that I'm an entrepreneur and I really wanted to launch something else. And so it was a need for me to stop Louis Le Sec, to be able to free my mind to start something else. So today I have a new project. So that's a great idea, I think. You know, it's in October, I realized that I had to take care of myself. I haven't done that for years. So I started to take some sew classes, you know, so cours de couture. And I quite quickly realized that there was some stuff missing on the market. So next year I will launch a café couture, where people will be able to rent what is needed to sew and to take care of themselves, and to be there with a new activity. So yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Sophie. Very interesting testimonial and tough decisions to take, but as you said, it was the right decision to make. And now you're launching another project. So, comment est-ce qu'on dit? Bonne continuation. Go on with your new project, and we will host now another testimonial, another entrepreneur. His name is Olivier Gilson. Feel free always to ask any questions you'd like to our speakers. They will be very happy to answer it. And I think that Olivier is going to come on stage. Olivier has launched also a business, but abroad. He was in Asia for a long time. We talked yesterday. He was in Hong Kong last year, and he had to come back because of the troubles in Hong Kong. And now he's back in Belgium. He's going to explain us how it's working on for him today.
So thank you, Gilles. Do you hear me? Yes. Okay. Perfect. So I've been an entrepreneur for nearly 20 years now. 8 years ago, as mentioned by Gilles, no, not 8 years ago, but the story started at this time. 8 years ago, I had a business in the food industry. So at that time, I was looking for something different to get out of my comfort zone. So I discussed with my wife to share with her my project of selling my company in Belgium. the idea was to find a new destination, so to travel around Southeast Asia. So she was a little bit scared when I share my project, but I think she thought that she was thinking that, okay, it will not be so easy, so we have time. And I came back to her three months later saying, okay, the business is sold, so we can leave in October, so six months later. So in October, we left with our daughter. She was 1 year old. And the idea of the trip was to meet people, entrepreneurs, expats, and to share with them their experiences, good or bad. The trip lasted 5 months, and last destination was Hong Kong, and we decided to stay there. So I started a lot of market analysis to analyze projects. And so finally, I decided to launch a new brand, a beer brand of craft beer. So I will share with you some pictures so it maybe can be easier to understand. It will be quite short, but so. Oops, sorry, I have a problem to share. So apparently I have not done the authorization to share my screen. So I don't know. Okay, last try and then. Okay, so apparently I cannot share. No, okay, let's move on. So the idea of the business was to really start a new brand of craft beer, but really to have a premium aspect on the beer, because beer is not really premium. So we started with online business, where our clients could order a beer 6-pack, and they could customize each bottles with their own pictures, and we transform the picture into something more artistic. Then we developed a Chinese tricycle with an A-frame at the back. We brought it to events, and people could take pictures and leave after the event with their own craft beer. And then we opened 8 pop-up store around the shopping mall in Hong Kong, and with one of them we won the best pop-up store in the world. Sorry. And finally, 2 years ago, we opened our own venue in Causeway Bay. Causeway Bay is the most expensive retail area in the world, before the Fifth Avenue, New York. So we had a space of 350 square meters. It was really unexpected venue. We had our office there. It was a venue to rent for corporate events. We had a bar, restaurants, and hydroponic aqua farm. So aqua farm is a farm. It's urban farming, using no chemical materials, no soil, only water and electricity is to grow, for example, edible flowers, spices, and we use it in our beer. So it's really to bring experiences to the clients. So it was a great space. After 1 year, we had a positive EBITDA, so we were quite happy. And then, as mentioned by Gilles, the demonstration in Hong Kong started. So 1/3 of our revenue came from corporate event in our place. So all the events were cancelled, so we have to reimburse all the deposits. Our clients in the restaurants, bar, they didn't order much of beer. So all in all, our turnover dropped down by 50%. So we managed to stay alive for 5 months, but with the rent that's one thing in Hong Kong, is that the landlord, they whatever your business is good or bad, you have to pay the rent. And then we ran out of cash, so we asked to our investors for loan, and one of our investor was the number 2 of BNP Paribas Asia. And he told us, okay, guys, we have information from China, and they will not come in Hong Kong to stop the demonstration. So it will last until 2021. So for us, there was no solution. So we had to close the business. So it was in August 2020. So less than 1 year ago. So it was really, really hard, because as an entrepreneur, when you put everything personally and financially, it's the worst for an entrepreneur. But I think that's bankruptcy, or in my case, to stop the business and to lose everything, because last valuable thing I had was a watch. And I had to sell it to pay my employee last August. So yeah, I really came back in Belgium without nothing, and I had to find a new job quickly, because life is continuing, and you have kids, you have wife. But bankruptcy is way more than that. I think that there is no boundaries between your personal life and your business life. I was lucky to have a wonderful wife who trusted me, and to keep her faith to me. And so, but I was transparent, I was authentic. I didn't hide anything. So I think it's really, really important in this situation that to tell the truth to your close network, your family, your close friends, your wife, your husband. I think it will avoid a lot of problems afterwards, because I heard and I read a lot of stories, because people, they want to show, you always want to show, I'm the super entrepreneur, I'm the first, I was so successful, and it's always difficult to say, no, I failed, I have problem in my business, on the social media, you don't see a lot of people showing the failure. So I think it's important to speak about that. And I think that's to manage to get up and to restart something after such experience. You have to work on you deeply, who you are, or on your value. I think for me, it's the only way to recover. It's a long process. It takes time. I think it's a process of a life. But I think it's really it's how you can learn from your mistake. So
okay, thank you very much, Olivier. Thank you for your testimony. It was very interesting. Thank you for your sincerity and your advice also to everybody to be transparent, honest about the difficulties that you face. I think it's very, very important what you shared to everybody today. So we have another testimony right after. It's Johan Barchechat. He's a financial expert at BNP Paribas, and he's going to join us right now on stage.
Yes, hello.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Hello, Johan.
Hello. Thank you very much for the invitation. So let me quickly start with something that perhaps was already said, but we have to know that 90% of startups fail. I mean, 90%. So that's really, for me, a really key point, because that means that we are shameful to speak about that, even though that the majority of startups would fail. So I would put a parallel with the human being. We will all die a day. but it's still a sensitive discussion to have with closest ones. And for me, it's the same within the startup, with the startup ecosystem and the co-founders. We don't want to speak to this die, even though that's something that happens most of the time. Anyway, so I was CEO, CFO of Ewala, which was still focusing on all payment to the African market. We attacked the market with a sample product. The family in Europe was able to send airtime, so phone credit data to their belongings in more than 14 countries in Africa. And the objective of Ewala was to send money from phone to phone. So that means that we will be regulated. So today, Ewala is still there. Is not officially bankrupt, but the key point is that the team have stepped out of Ewala. So for me, I'm completely out, and that will be the base of my testimony. So why did Ewala went in such a situation? So for me, it was not a question of really cash burn. Of course, the cash is always a reason, but we had a more than 30% quarterly growth in average. It was not an IT issues. We have good IT system that enabled us to reduce the cost, to onboard new clients, to improve the sales, and so on. In terms of regulatory and regulation issue, which is an easy subject for this type of company, we were well prepared and on the way to get the license. So that was not really even the price of the competition. Of course, there are, but we are not really fundamentally attacked on that. So I will list some reflection points from my point of view and what I have learned from that. So one of the points that was raised, by the way, by Réseau Entreprendre, because we are part of Réseau Entreprendre, was the team size. We were 3, which is not a good number. So the dynamic was different as the 2 classical or alone people, but the 2 is more the preferred one, where we say. For me, the key point was more that in the team there was pre-assigned roles, and then we lack all the potential of the skills that people have to fully exploit the resources they have. So that was for me more something that was needed to be unlocked within the team. Also, we had several advices from Réseau Entreprendre that, to be honest, we didn't always follow. So that's reached another point, which is some ego within the team, and we need some ego to start a startup, to put all your days working hard, putting money on the table, and so on. You need some ego. So at some point it's good, but you have to be on the same direction. So that's my third point: align goals. So apart from personal issues like family ones, on finance, and so on, you have to ensure that you have really online goals, not only from the management team, but also from your shareholders. So that's also something that for me was not helping. Ewala, that was the capital structures. So if in your shareholders you not have with the management team the same objective, more short term versus long term, and key decisions, of course, then it will be more painful for everyone and could lead some end of relationships. Another point that you have to keep in mind is also the legal one. So it was not one of the reasons of that we stepped on, but it always will create frictions, and that's something really difficult to manage, because you join the startup, you are happy, you are like in the euphoria of joining a startup, and you sign what you sign. But that's really the point where you have to step back and take time and read everything and think about scenarios, and the bad one and the even bad ones, and so on, the worst one, and to see what will happen if. So and before, when you feel that you are completely disagree with within the team or the management, and you see that you don't have the cash for your ambitions, and everything go in the wrong direction, then you can be really reluctant to say, okay, we have to stop this adventure. But then that's something very difficult, because we know that we will heading some hard time for 2 reasons. First one, we will speak about money in somehow, and money is a sensitive subject, even an emotional one. And then you have, this mourning stage, les étapes du deuil. And that's really what happened within the company, like for like you said, Sophie, like for a baby kind of. So you start with the deny, like, no, we can do it. Let's fight and fight and fight again, because that's our DNA as a startupper. We are here to fight, and people put money on the table for us, clients trust us, we have to fight. So we will just deny what is happening. Then we switch to anger, and then you start to finger pointing bad behaviors, fear of bad behaviors, then kind of psycho a little bit. So then you switch to potentially bargaining with yourself, with the other, blackmailing, and so on. Then you are in, and that's kind of the depression, more of the pit. Like no more communication. You cut off. It's the end of the story, and then you have, of course, to go for the acceptance process that could take a lot of time. But these 5 steps are not linear, and it's trouble times. Some people can go for one step to the other and go backward and go again. So you can just imagine that taking the decision to stop is really hard emotionally, and we anticipate what will happen. So it's not really easy to do that. So for my own experience.
Thank you very much. We have to go on to move on with our next speaker. It was very interesting.
No
thank you again.
You're welcome.
We will welcome now Tom Verhart, our last speaker, last entrepreneur that will share with us his experience. He's gonna come on stage in a moment, I think. Tom Verhart is CEO of Kick and Rush and is joining us right now.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you to give me the opportunity to.
Hello, Tom, welcome.
So basically, the objective of this testimony is not to talk about what is going on before the bankruptcy, and I can tell you that I wanted to justify myself, and there was this feeling of guilt and difficult period. But what I want to convey is actually a story and a testimony about a solution that we found, and a solution that is possible in the afterworld. And there are many opportunities, first of all, to exploit what we have learned in the past and out of the mistake that you made, but also use the experience that you had and try to not to get all the value that was there and let it go into the drain. So I'd like to give you a little bit of the events. Supremia, that I was running as from September 2019, was a company active in the industry of promotional items and the distribution of promotional items for big companies, such as car manufacturers, and we were proposing web shops for the distribution of those promotional items, and that could be many things. And in April, on the 14th of April, the shareholders have decided to, and the administrators have decided to file for bankruptcy. So as you are in the CEO role, well, your job on that day is to announce to the 320 people that it's game over. First of all, the 70 in Belgium, and then you announce it to the country managers who are impacted at a later stage in the other countries. You also announce it to your customers. You also announce it to your suppliers, and that creates a lot of stress, a lot of emotions, and you're in that situation. Well, immediately after, you try to, and some employees try to go into struggle for life. So they try to find some solutions for the group. And in our case, I got contacted by quite a few competitors, actually. I was in concrete talks with 4 of them. And with one of them, because the 14 April, we announced the bankruptcy. 20 April, I have a meeting with one of the competitors, and we have talks and we have good feelings. That's where we are at that stage. And the 20th of April is the day that the bankruptcy is actually called and announced and accepted by the court. And on the 21st, we meet with the curator. So that's what happens. You're called in with the curator, and he's asking first question after making everyone redundant in the company, he's asking whether there is a plan to take over. And basically, he gives you the possibility to look into it and to keep him up to date about all the interactions and all the possibilities that are offered to him as curator. And in our case, on the 24th, we closed a deal with the curator. So that means that on 24 April, the company MCS Kick and Rush acquired the assets of the Belgian entities of Supremia. And since the 24th, we tried together. 25 people came over from Supremia, joined this new group, and we are trying to survive and to create 1 + 1 = 2 already would be brilliant. And we try to save what can be saved in this company. I'd like to share about why this could happen so quickly and how it could happen so quickly. And there are 4 elements that are, for me, essential in this process, because as you can imagine, 14 April and 24 April, that's 10 days where you play a game. First of all, it was preparation. I mean, the management team within Supremia had prepared plenty of scenarios, done a lot of analysis. So our business plan was really ready for a cut down version, a version of a new Supremia that made sense. And the fact that we had done all this preparation has put us in a good position to explain, to sell the project to an eventual new partner. You're never ready for a bankruptcy. I mean, honestly, it's not like you're going to enjoy that 10 times in your life, hopefully. So basically, the more you're prepared with what you can do is analysis, data, vision, the more you are effective in that difficult situation. The second one is trust. I mean, the whole deal in 10 days cannot be based on due diligence. That's what usually happens when there is an acquisition. This deal was purely based on trust between people. We looked ourselves in the eyes. You go onto LinkedIn, you do some screening on the partners, you contact your friends from youth and you know each other, and you base it purely on human interaction and a bit of screening. The third one is that the 2 companies or the 2 entities were highly complementary, both in terms of the people who would take the lead afterwards. At MCS, the guys had been running the company for 25 years in this promotional item industry. At Supremia, we were people with other experiences, whether it's from Lireco or packaging companies. So the good thing is that there was a fit between experts in the industry and, on the other side, people who were bringing new ideas on running business in this sector. But also, obviously, complementarity of the businesses. I mean, MCS Kick and Rush was a leader in Wallonia. Supremia was leader in Flanders. Bring that together, you create the number 1 in Belgium. And it also gives you a possibility to grow later on in other countries. Number 4, and the last one, and it's the most important one to me, it's communication. I mean, in order for us now, we are 2 months further, the way we can be successful is that we communicated very clearly with the employees, very openly as well, very transparent with the employees, with the suppliers, with the customers. And we kept them up to date, all the 3 we kept up to date in all stages of the development. And I really think that's essential if you want to have this start-through approach afterwards. So in a nutshell, out of this big group, we saved only 25 jobs. At the moment, we kept 90%, 95% of the customers. So it's okay, but it's a struggle for life still today. And now we are in the process of doing a merger. So you're in 3 stages. The first one was the last few months of Supremia and the last months before a bankruptcy are difficult. Then the bankruptcy came a bit earlier than we had forecasted, but it was there. And then you're going into the exhausting process of finding a solution. And now we're in the process, but it's much more fun to move on and to merge together and become one company, because it's not over. It's very challenging to get two different cultures to come together and to form this new company. So we're building a lot of trust amongst the management, but also amongst the people below in the company. And that is, for us, the base to build on a stronger company for the future. So just a message, it's never over. We don't want to, it's sometimes good to stop and to cut the loss. But sometimes there is a possibility not to get all the value that you created wasted. And it can take a lot of forms. We in the company at Suprema never linked our own lot, our own destiny to the success of that value. And that is a very important bit. It meant that we put the egos away. And I agree with my predecessor talker on this one. If you put the egos away, you solve a lot of issues.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your time. And thanks to all the entrepreneurs that are here, and also, of course, to the audience. If you have one last question to ask one of our entrepreneurs that are still here, you have the last opportunity to do that right now. Otherwise, I can already announce the next session, the next webinar from next week, the last one of the coronavirus challenge organized by FinTech Belgium. And next week, the focus will be on healthy financials. So be there also next Friday, I guess. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.